Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 2 based on novel. So let's start. Nightfall arrived. A small ruined city appeared on this desolate plain. There were a large number of bonfires gathered together in the city and it looked like a resting point. From a distance away, it was even possible to see some groups continuously rushing over from other places. This city became noisy because of this, and it no longer had the deserted atmosphere of the desolate plains. This small city was called Little Wasteland City. It was a resting point in this desolate plains. Many groups, which usually ventured through this desolate plains in search of prey, would chose to rest and reorganize in this place. Moreover, this also allowed them to hide from the occasional tornado and cold fog that appeared in the desolate plains. Some business transactions would also occur when these groups gathered here. One example was to exchange items that caught each other's fancy. Of course, most of the time, fights would inevitably occur in a place like this. After all, the demon region was chaotic to begin with, and the beast war region was even more chaotic. In fact, one might meet with a smile a moment before, only to fight in the next instant, causing blood to flow like river. At this moment, the flag of the blood python was fluttering at a corner of the city. Various rough and fearsome curses sounded from the surrounding campsite and spread into the distance. There was a plot of land in front of the camp. At this moment, all sorts of people were gathered together. The many fluttering flags indicated that they belonged to different factions in the beast war region. At this moment, various loud and arrogant voices sounded in this place. Most of them were boasting about the rewards gained by their group during the trip. TCH, they merely defeated a roaming bandit group. My blood python city has exterminated 3 stockade. The rewards we gained far exceeds all of you. A bare-armed man from the blood python city heard the conversations of the others' groups and laughed arrogantly. There were many scars on his face and it made him look ferocious and ruthless. TSK, Hu Cheng, your blood python city only dares to bully those weak stockades. What kind of loot can you possibly obtain? An untimely voice was transmitted by the side after the bare-armed man's loud laughter sounded. Everyone looked over and saw a skinny man, laughing in a strange fashion. Meanwhile, there were quite a lot of people gathered around him. The bare-armed man revealed a fearsome glint in his eyes as he stared at the skinny man. However, he did not attack in anger. Clearly, the latter was no simple pushover. Moreover, the faction supporting him was also not much weaker than their blood python city. A fearsome glint flashed across the bare-armed man's eyes. He turned his head to look at a rock. Seated on the rock was an exceptionally muscular and large man devouring some grilled meat. After which, that large muscular man lifted his somewhat scarlet eyes and stared at the skinny young man. He parted his mouth into a dense smile. 2 nine-tailed tribe young ladies. Are they valuable or not? An uproar spread from the surroundings after his words sounded. The eyes of many onlookers became a lot brighter. The nine-tailed tribe was extremely well known in the demonic beast world. After all, the ladies in that tribe were natural-born beauties and it was rare to find one. The corners of this large muscular man's mouth parted in a pleased manner after seeing the crowd's reaction. After which, the sound of moving wheels appeared. A caged cart was being pushed out. 2 delicate small figures could be seen within the prison. They were trembling while hugging onto each other. Their tear-filled faces were filled with horror when they saw the various wild beasts outside with lewd expression in their eyes. Although they were unable to clearly discern the appearance of the 2 women, just by looking at the enchanting curves that they revealed when hugging each other, it caused the breathing of many onlookers to become a little heavier. Brother Leisian, can you sell one of these beauties to me? The skinny man from earlier licked his lips. He extended a finger and shook it, 1 million Xian Yuan pills. What do you say? Many onlookers were shocked. This fellow was indeed generous. He actually offered a 1 million Xian Yuan pills directly. Wang Hu, they are going to be presented to my city governor. Do you dare to enjoy them? The large muscular man called Leisian ridiculed. The expression of the skinny man changed upon hearing this. Immediately, He laughed dryly. The city governor of the Blood Python City was someone whom he had heard of. Lei Zhen smiled arrogantly after he saw that fellow cowering in fear. He waved his hand and ordered his men to drag the prison cart back. "I say, why don't you sell those two women to me?" A laughter was suddenly emitted just as Lei Zhen waved his hand. Everyone lifted their heads in shock. Their eyes shifted towards the top of a tent, where two figures had suddenly appeared. With the help of the bonfire, he could see that the person who had just spoken was a tall young man. Lei Zhen frowned when he saw this young man, who had suddenly appeared. He laughed coldly. "All right. 10 million Xian Yuan pills. Can you afford it?" The mouths of everyone twitched. This fellow was truly full of nonsense. Although a young lady from the Nine-Tailed tribe was valuable, it was far from able to fetch such a price. Everyone looked at the top of the tent. Then, they saw the smiling young man bending down before he said with a smile, "Previously, at the side of the road, you snatched my grilled meat. Why don't we use that to pay for the 10 million Xian Yuan pills?" The expressions of everyone in the crowd became strange. Was the ingredient of your grilled meat from the Dragon tribe or the Celestial Demon Martin tribe? However, some of the sharper individuals narrowed their eyes. They could detect something amiss in the atmosphere. Could it be that this unknown young man in front of them did not know that these people belonged to the Blood Python City? These people were no kind-hearted individuals. Lei Zhen and Hu Cheng's expressions gradually became uglier in front of the many strange-looking pair of eyes. Behind them, those people from the Blood Python City also revealed a ferocious glint in their eyes. A chilly glow flashed across the blades in their hands. "It seems like we met someone who is here to create trouble." Lei Zhen smiled ferociously. He had passed by in a hurried manner and did not notice the Lindong duo by the side of the road. It was unexpected that the latter would come and court trouble on his own. "However, today, I will teach you that you are still a little too tender to try and act mightily in front of my Blood Python City. Kill him, cut him up and feed him to the dogs." A thunderous cry sounded. Swoosh! Those experts from the Blood Python City immediately charged forward with a ferocious smile when the cry sounded. Majestic Yuan power erupted. Their auras were quite powerful. The surrounding onlookers stepped back when they saw this sight. After which, they simply stared at this scene as if they were watching a show. They were really curious about this young man's abilities. After all, he actually dared to act so arrogantly in front of these two initial profound death stage experts from the Blood Python City. When Lin Dong saw the experts from Blood Python City charging over with murderous intent, he sighed and shook his head. Next, he spoke to Xinqing. "Step back." "Understood." Xinqing nodded obediently. Although there were two initial profound death stage experts from the Blood Python City, she had witnessed the ferocity of Lin Dong when he fought both Hua Chen and Xu Xiu back at the Fiery Flame City. Hence, she clearly knew that the lineup in front of her posed little threat to Lin Dong. An indifferent iciness gradually rose in Lin Dong's eyes as Xinqing stepped back a little. He extended his hand and slammed it forward. A majestic Yuan power swept out from it. It directly turned into a huge Yuan power hand that struck ruthlessly at the group. Bang bang bang. Low and deep voices rose in a wave-like fashion. Those figures filled with murderous intent flew backwards in a miserable fashion and sent the remaining forces from the Blood Python City tumbling. Profound death stage expert. Some exclamations swiftly spread. All those people, who were planning on watching a fun show, focused their eyes. Clearly, they did not expect that this young man was actually in possession of such great strength. The Lei Zhen duo also had a change in expressions. They stared at Lin Dong in a sinister manner and said, "Do you wish to become enemies with my Blood Python City?" Lin Dong smiled. His body moved and he landed from the top of the tent. Subsequently, his eyes glanced at the two beautiful young ladies in the prison cart before he softly stated, "Hand them over." The Lei Zhen duo revealed a dark and cold expression. They exchanged glances before sweeping their eyes towards the deepest part of the campgrounds. A killing intent suddenly surged onto their faces. "Kill him." Majestic Yuan power swept out from their bodies simultaneously. The both of them possessed the strength of the initial profound death stage, and they had a fairly powerful name in the Blood Python city. Although Lin Dong's strength had surprised them, that was all it did. They were still confident that they could kill him with their combined strength. Mighty Yuan power wrapped around the both of them. Their bodies were just like ghosts as they crisscrossed and charged towards Lin Dong. Meanwhile, their bodies had swelled a little and metal thorn-like bristle fur rose from under their skin. Lin Dong's expression was calm when he saw the two of them rushing over. He gently lifted his foot before he let it fall. Bang! The air seemed to have exploded at this moment. After which, the many experts present saw a light figure shooting straight over. Subsequently, a loud bang sounded and the prison cart was blasted apart. Sawdust spread. Every pair of eyes present darted over. Following which, their pupils shrink when they saw the young man standing straight beside the prison cart. Right now, both his hands were gripping on the throat of two figures. At this moment, the both of them were struggling wildly. However, regardless of how they struggled, the hand on their throat refused to budge, just like the claws of an eagle. Gulp! The sound of saliva being swallowed resounded across this place. Those experts from various factions revealed a shock in their eyes. In that previous fight, the Laosian duo were defeated even before they saw what had happened. They were two initial profound death stage experts, and they were fearsome fighters that would be highly valued by any faction in the Beast War region. Yet, they were completely powerless in the hands of that young man. The eyes of some people revealed a solemn expression. It seems like the Blood Python city has ran into a tough opponent this time around. The two Nine-Tail tribe young ladies were startled when they saw this scene. Their bodies trembled as they looked at the calm young man. A heartbreaking, pleading expression appeared in their eyes. Bang! Lin Dong tossed the two of them aside indifferently, just like they were garbage, causing a group of people to tumble. After which, he patted his hand while his eyes looked towards the deepest part of the Blood Python camp as he asked in a faint voice. I will be taking them away. Are you going to stop me? The camp was in a state of complete chaos. The powerful experts from Blood Python City wore terrified expressions as they looked at the exceptionally miserable Laosian duo. It was likely that none of them had expected that two powerful warriors from their Blood Python City were actually so easily defeated by the young man standing before them. At this moment, Xin had also hurried over from behind. After which, she landed on the prison cart. Her large eyes immediately revealed some joy upon seeing the two ladies, Sister Qing, Sister Liu. Xin? The two ladies, who were originally a little frightened, looked at Xin in a somewhat absent-minded manner. A moment later, they finally recovered their senses. Immediately, joy quickly rose in their eyes while tears began to gather. Lin Dong glanced at those three ladies who were crying. After which, he turned to look at the deepest part of the campgrounds. There was an extremely obscure aura that was a lot stronger than the Laosian duo at that spot. Clearly, he was the strongest one in this group. However, it seems like the latter was extremely proficient at concealing his aura. In fact, Lin Dong only detected it after approaching the campgrounds. At this moment, those surrounding experts wore startled expressions as they looked at the deepest part of the campground. Could there be another expert from Blood Python City there? Could it be? Some experts frowned slightly and muttered to themselves. Ha ha, I never imagined that a human actually dares to act so arrogantly in the Beast War region. A hoarse laughter was emitted from the campground in front of everyone's eyes. After which, everyone's eyes were dazzled. By the time they refocused their eyes, they saw that a grey-robed figure had already appeared in front of the various experts from Blood Python City. This person had a pale face. Both his eyes were sunken and he appeared a little sinister. His arms were exceptionally long and as sharp as a sword. Occasionally, a faint fog would linger around his body. That fog was pungent and clearly contained a lethal poison. Junior Governor of Blood Python City? Cao Mang. The crowd parted noisily after this person appeared. Even those experts from Blood Python City took a step back and distanced themselves from this man. All of them revealed a terrified expression. Junior City Governor. The Laotian duo hurriedly climbed onto their feet and hurried to Cao Mang's side in a miserable fashion. The Xinqing trio experienced a change in expression when they saw this person appearing. In fact, those two young ladies from the Nine-Tailed tribe revealed a tinge of hopelessness in their eyes. No one had expected that there was actually such a powerful person in this unit from Blood Python City. No need to be afraid. Xinqing gently comforted them. Cao Mang was indeed quite well known. He was at the advanced profound death stage and was much stronger than the Laotian duo. However, he did not pose much of a threat to Lin Dong. The horror in the eyes of the two ladies diminished a little after they saw Xinqing's calm expression. Subsequently, they secretly peeked at the tall Lin Dong beside them. They could tell that the reason why Xinqing was able to remain calm was largely because of him. However, did he really possess the strength to fight Cao Mang? The latter was an advanced profound death stage expert. I will be taking them away. Do you have any objections? Lin Dong smiled gently towards Cao Mang. From his tone, it seems like he was asking a question. However, only those who frequently engaged in life and death battles could sense the sharpness and iciness hidden under the smile. A human like you actually dare to say such words? Aren't you looking down on our demonic beast world? Laotians cried out sternly. Clearly, he wanted to take advantage of Lin Dong's race to make him into a common enemy. However, his words did not have much of an impact. Although they felt upset over a human acting so arrogantly in a place like this, the strength that Lin Dong had displayed earlier had also frightened these demonic beasts. Hence, Lin Dong completely ignored him. He merely stared at a pale-looking Cao Mang and laughed. Your senses seem to be exceptionally sharp. Hence, I believe that you should know that there is no way you can stop me. The surrounding people once again had a change in expression. This was especially so when they saw Cao Mang's eyes becoming increasingly dark and solemn. All of them felt secretly startled. This young man was actually this powerful? Even Cao Mang, who had reached the advanced profound death stage, was unable to stop him. You are pitting yourself against our Blood Python City. You will regret this in the future. Cao Mang's eyes stared at Lin Dong like poisonous snakes. His voice was dark and sinister. Lin Dong nonchalantly shrugged. Ignoring Cao Mang, he waved his hand towards Xinqing. After which, he turned around and left. Seeing this, Xinqing hurriedly dragged the two other ladies, who were in a state of disbelief, and swiftly followed. Since you are so arrogant, why don't you leave your name behind? I want to see if my Blood Python City can afford to offend you. Cao Mang spoke in a dense voice. Lin Dong. Lin Dong's footsteps paused, as he turned towards Cao Mang and revealed a brilliant smile. Subsequently, he did not stop and simply left. Those surrounding demonic beast experts hurriedly separated and gave way. Their eyes curiously stared at the four individuals who had left. Junior City Governor Laotian and the other experts from Blood Python City watched Lin Dong's group swagger off, with ugly expressions on their faces. Although Lin Dong was quite powerful, it was likely that he would not be able to fight all of them together. I am no match for him. That fellow is no simple fellow. Even if all of us were to fight, it is likely that we would still be unable to hold him. Cao Mang's eyes were dark and cold as he glanced at Laotian and said, Is he so strong? Hu Lei clenched his teeth and spoke disbelievingly. Cao Mang was at the advanced profound death stage. However, though it seemed like he possessed fighting strength that exceeds this level, that Lin Dong was merely at the initial profound death stage. Are you doubting my perception? Cao Mang glanced at Hu Lei, before cold sweat quickly surfaced on the latter's forehead. He shook his head repeatedly. After all, he knew how outstanding Cao Mang's perception was. If it is not because you two trash were causing a scene, why would such a situation like this occur? Cao Mang spoke in a dark and cold voice. Laotian duo's forehead were covered in cold sweat. They did not dare to disagree. What should we do? There are so many people here who saw what happened. Soon, news of this incident would begin to spread. If others learned that we actually allowed a human to openly snatch those women from us, it will be a great embarrassment to our Blood Python City. some experts from Blood Python City said with great dissatisfaction. Cowman looked at the direction where Lin Dong was heading towards in a sinister manner. A ferocious smile rose on the corner of his lips. It is not so easy to snatch someone that belongs to my Blood Python City. Rest assured, he will regret this. There is only one outcome for those who provoke our Blood Python City. That is death. Ha ha. Suddenly, I really wish to see that brat kneeling and begging for mercy. A bonfire rose in a forest, a great distance from the small wasteland city. Lin Dong sat quietly. After which, he smilingly looked at the three extremely beautiful young ladies bunching up together and speaking softly. Lin Dong could hear some soft exclamations from their soft conversations. Those two young ladies from the Nine-Tailed tribe continuously glanced at him with shock and admiration in their eyes. It was likely that they were listening to Xinqing describing some stories related to Lin Dong. Lin Dong acted as if he did not see anything. He gently leaned on a tree trunk and lifted his head to look at the night sky. His mood was calm as he listened to the soft and gentle voices of the young ladies beside him. The voices beside him continued for a period of time. After which, the extremely tired Nine-Tailed young ladies leaned on each other and fell asleep. Only Xinqing took care of the both of them for a while before hugging a soft blanket and coming to Lin Dong's side. She sat down. Her pretty small face contained a red glow as she looked at Lin Dong and softly said, "Sir Lin Dong, thank you very much." Lin Dong could see a heartfelt gratitude within her eyes. Previously, Xinqing was both afraid and respectful of Lin Dong. However, as of now, there was a genuine trace of reverence present in her eyes. Lin Dong smiled and waved his hand. He glanced at the two ladies, who had fallen into a deep slumber before a glint flashed across his eyes. Although part of the reason why he intervened was to help Xinqing rescue her tribe members, there were also other considerations on his part. According to what Qingxi said, there was a strong likelihood that Little Flame was in this Beast War region. Right now, Lin Dong was unable to comb through such a vast place by himself. In that case, he could only make himself famous. It was likely that Little Flame would understand once his name is transmitted into Little Flame's ears. At that time, they would finally get to reunite. Moreover, in order for his name to spread, there was naturally a need for some stepping stones. Coincidentally, Blood Python City delivered themselves to his doorstep. The incident tonight would likely allow his name to spread. However, this was still far from sufficient. Lin Dong smiled faintly when he thought of this. Blood Python City although he did not have a grudge with them, they came crashing into his path. In that case, they will have to be the sacrificial lambs. Led by Xinqing, Lin Dong continued to travel the next day. However, the latter was a little surprised that Lin Dong, who had raised his speed to the limit during the past 2 days, was currently slowing down on purpose. This caused her to be puzzled. However, she did not dare question him. Instead, all she did was to act as Lin Dong had instructed. Many rumors spread in this region while Lin Dong's group was traveling. Although this Beast War region was filled with conflict, it was rare to see a human that was bold enough to provoke a demonic beast faction in this place. In fact, after some individuals learnt of the incident that occurred to Blood Python City, they became even more curious. Various factions gathered and waited for the show to begin. Ha ha. A young lady's clear and lovely joyous voice reverberated in the sky, adding a little liveliness to the people traveling in a dull manner. Xinqing broke into a small run towards a tall slope. After which, her small face was somewhat excited as she waved her hand towards the few people behind her. She was about to cry out when she realized that something was amiss. There was a large group of people standing on the plains in front of the tall slope. Many blood python flags were fluttering in the wind while a ferocious aura swept from them. At the front of these people, there was a blood python throne. Currently, a blood-robed man was leaning on it. His expression was indifferent as he stared at the few individuals who had appeared on the tall slope. Subsequently, a cruel expression slowly appeared on the corner of his mouth. A black mass of people and horses slowly spread across on the plains in front of them. Those fluttering blood python flags emitted a fearsome aura that could seemingly devour a person, and it seemed like dark clouds had begun to gather in the sky because of it. It looked as though a storm was about to arrive. The Xinqing trio, who were originally wearing smiles on their tiny faces, immediately turned pale when they saw the lineup before them. Subsequently, there was shock and horror in their eyes. From the fluttering flags, they could tell where the group in front of them came from. Moreover, from the looks of it, the Blood Python City had mobilized their entire force, and it was obvious that the target of this campaign was them. Ha ha, they have really came. The young man at the back slowly stepped forward, while the delicate small bodies of the three ladies trembled gently. He looked at the lineup in front of him before a smile surfaced on his youthful face. Sir Lindong. I'm sorry. Xinqing bit her lips with her mouth, while there were tears gathering within her large eyes. She knew that they were in this predicament because she begged Lindong to rescue her two tribe members. If anything was to happen to Lindong here, she would not be able to atone for it even if she died 10,000 times over. The two Nine-Tailed tribe young ladies' pretty face turned ashen. They were about to kneel towards Lindong. However, the latter waved his hand and forcefully lifted them up. This is precisely the situation I need. I am the one who is using all of you as bait. There is no need to blame yourselves. Lindong smiled. He walked towards the tallest point on the slope and looked in front of him. There were quite a lot of people in this area. Moreover, many of them clearly did not belong to the Blood Python City. Instead, they were from other factions. It seemed like within a short 2 to 3 days' time, news regarding him had spread quite rapidly. However, this was precisely what he needed. A breeze blew across the plains, stirring up dust. However, the tense atmosphere would not scatter. Is that the human who provoked the Blood Python City? He looks so young. I heard that he is very powerful. Even the junior city governor of the Blood Python City is no match for him. However, even Cao Ying has came this time around. He is an expert who is at half-step to perfect profound death stage. It is rumored that at least 10 advanced profound death stage experts were killed by him. Moreover, there are so many experts from the Blood Python City present too. This human fellow is simply too arrogant. However, an arrogant person tends to have a short life. Countless pairs of eyes gathered onto the tall figure on the high slope, while conversation spread. News regarding Lindong had spread widely across this region. After all, it has been a long time since a human dared to act so haughtily in the Beast War region. You are that person, Lindong, who snatched someone from the hands of my Blood Python City, am I right? The blood-robed man seated on the Blood Python throne, at the front of the Blood Python City, slowly lifted his head amidst all the private conversations. His triangular-shaped eyes were like poisonous snakes, as he stared at the figure on the high slope. A faint voice sounded. You are the governor of the Blood Python City, right? Lindong looked at the blood-robed man and smiled. He said, all of you came a little later than I anticipated. Oh. The blood-robed man focused his eyes. The corner of his mouth was lifted with some ridicule as he laughed. You actually knew that my Blood Python City was coming? Lindong smiled. He immediately extended his hand and gently grabbed the two young ladies from the Nine-Tailed tribe. A suction force was emitted. After which, their delicate bodies shook before two bloodlight appeared from their bodies and turned into two finger-sized tiny blood snakes. There was something within their bodies left behind by your Blood Python City. Hence, we are naturally unable to escape from your detection regardless of where we go. Lindong played with the two blood snakes in his hand. His eyes quickly turned cold as he clenched his hand. The two blood snakes were instantly reduced into a blood fog before he randomly tossed them aside. Do you think such creatures can escape my detection? Those two young ladies from the Nine-Tailed tribe's originally pale face turned ashen upon seeing this. It was likely that they did not know that such a creature was planted in their bodies. The blood-robed man looked at the bloody snake, which had turned into a blood fog in Lindong's hands, before the smile on his face slowly disappeared. He placed his hands on his knees and leaned forward. His eyes suddenly turned sharp, causing him to appear like a ferocious poisonous snake. Are you saying that you purposefully lure us here? Lin Dong smiled but remained non-committal. After which, he said, "Make way for us." The eyes of the blood-robed man turned sharp and venomous. Finally, he suddenly stood up and laughed coldly. "Brat, although I do not know where you come from, I must admit you are quite good at putting up an act, but..." Majestic Yuan power erupted from within his body like torrential waves after he uttered those words. His aura far surpassed that of the advanced profound death stage, and even Hua Chen and Xu Xiu were weaker than him. This person had half a foot in the perfect profound death stage. "Brat, you are still a little too tender to try and frighten me off. Today, none of you are allowed to leave." Lin Dong looked at Cao Ying, who had a shocking aura. He smiled and slowly stepped forward, stepping on the empty space and headed towards the main force of the Blood Python city. An unusual surging Yuan power rose like floodwater as he slowly walked downwards. "In that case, let's fight." Lin Dong landed. He stopped 10,000 feet away and laughed. "Are you going to fight me one-on-one, or are all of you going to attack together? Big brother, this brat is exceptionally cunning. We should attack together and kill him." Cao Mang's gaze was gloomy as he spoke. He had exceptionally sharp senses, and for no particular reason, he always felt an uneasy sensation from Lin Dong's body. "I am naturally aware that he is trying to provoke me. However, what can an ant do?" Cao Ying mocked coldly. To begin with, demonic beasts loved to fight, and strength was the only thing that they believed in. As the leader of a faction, Cao Ying naturally had his own pride. Although he would prioritize victory over tactics if things developed to a critical stage, he did not believe that this initial profound death stage human in front of him could do much in his hands. This was the confidence that he had himself. Furthermore, this self-confidence came from the fact that he had killed 10 advanced profound death stage experts before. Cao Mang was unable to rebut upon hearing this. He also had a great deal of confidence in Cao Ying. After all, the latter was an expert with half a foot in the perfect profound death stage. His cultivation level was considered top tier even in the entire Beast War region. Although the person standing in front of them, Lin Dong, seemed a little peculiar, even Cao Mang did not believe that the former could defeat Cao Ying. Cao Ying stepped forward after his cold laughter sounded. Bloodlight flashed. In the next moment, he had already appeared in front of Lin Dong. Clenching his hand, a 10 feet large blood-red snake spear appeared in a flash. A cold glow flowed on the snake spear, and it looked just like a poisonous snake extending its tongue. As Lin Dong stared at Cao Ying's frightening aura, he slowly clenched his hand. Traces of lightning gathered on his palm. It subsequently extended, transforming into a lightning scepter filled with electric arcs. There was a vague low and deep thunder roar being emitted. Countless pairs of eyes on the plains gathered on the two people, who were facing off in the sky. They really wanted to find out what abilities this human, who acted in such a lofty fashion, had. Perhaps, like what Cao Ying claimed, this person was merely trying to put on a brave front in order to frighten others. The demon region honored strength. Regardless if one was a human or a demonic beast, as long as one possessed strength, one would be respected by others. However, if one was merely putting up a false pretense, it was likely impossible for one to survive. Standing on the tall slope, the Xinqing trio stared nervously at the face-off in the sky. The faces of the two young ladies from the Nine-Tailed tribe were filled with worry and uneasiness. It looked as though they were about to cry. "Xinqing, that is the city governor of the Blood Python city, Cao Ying. It is rumored that he has reached the perfect profound death stage level," a young lady softly said while her voice was filled with horror. Perfect profound death stage. This cultivation level was simply far too powerful in their opinion. In fact, in their Nine-Tail clan, the strongest person was merely at the initial profound death stage expert. However, this level was simply too far away from the perfect profound death stage. Although based on what Xinqing told them, they knew that Lin Dong was extraordinary, it was clearly impossible to shake the ferocious image which they had of Cao Ying for many years. Relax, Sir. Lin Dong once defeated a Samsara stage expert. Even though he borrowed the strength of the crowd, it is clear that this Cao Ying is far inferior to a Samsara stage expert. Although Xinqing was a little worried, she did not display it at this moment. Instead, she uttered some words of comfort. He fought with a samsara stage expert before. The two young ladies were involuntarily speechless. Cao Ying, who had half a foot in the perfect profound death stage, was already an unbeatable existence in their eyes. A so-called samsara stage expert was basically a legendary existence to them. In fact, even in the entire demon region, such a person could be considered as an overlord. Yet, Xinqing said that this young man, who appeared to be in his 20s, had defeated such a legendary super expert before. Even if it was accomplished by gathering the strength of a crowd, it was still quite a frightening feat. Sir Lin Dong is actually this powerful. The horror within the eyes of the two women finally dissipated. After which, their pretty eyes looked at the unmoving mountain-like skinny figure holding a lightning scepter in the air. Some hope rose within their eyes. Perhaps, he could indeed resolve this desperate situation in front of them. In the sky, Lin Dong ignored the various expressions that filled the mountains. All he did was quietly stare at Cao Ying, who was holding a snake spear in his hand. A moment later, an arc was lifted on the corner of his mouth. A desire for battle was evident in his black eyes. Let my name become renowned throughout this land. Little Flame, I am coming for you. This video will end here.